In this video, we totally modernized this Airsoft SCAR. Stay tuned to find out how. Okay, so I've wanted to do this build for a while. The SCAR is one of those platforms that I feel like almost everyone in Airsoft has a somewhat complicated relationship with. You love how it looks, you love how it feels in your hands, but then you look at what's going on with the stock rail system and the stock grip and the stock, and you think, I could do better. I know I could do better. So today, we're doing better. This is the Cybergun FN SCAR Lite CQB length in tan, VFC built internals. It's an excellent gun straight out of the box, and it's going to be a significantly more excellent gun that is very specifically mine. We're doing a full external makeover and cracking the gearbox, upgrading the internals, the new rail system, motor swap, MOSFET swap, grip, light foregrip, and then I've got an idea for what's going on with this thing back here. We'll get into that in a bit. Suffice to say, it's a bit of a project. It might work great. It might end in disaster on camera. But either way, you and me and you, we're here for it. You'll see as we progress. Let's get right into the build. We haven't done one of these for a while. I'm excited. Before we touch anything on the outside of this rifle, we need to talk about what's going on inside it first. And here's the thing about a full internals upgrade. The gun has to come pretty completely apart anyway. So there's zero point in doing the externals first just to tear it all back down again. We're gonna send this down to Tommy in the tech department while I work on the ambitious idea I have for the stock. And when it comes back up from tech, then we'll put our finishing touches on it. So she's all yours, Tommy. Okay, so we're down in the tech department now. Tommy's already pulled the gearbox from the shell, and we're gonna walk through everything that we're throwing into this bad boy, starting off with the Gate Titan 2. The Gate Titan 2 drops right into this V2 gearbox. Once the gearbox is back together, the whole thing programs from the Gate Control Station app on your phone. Like I said, it's got pre-cocking, active braking, rate of fire, burst settings. The factory internals on this gun are great out of the box, but what we're building here calls for some more pro-level components, and this is one of those that ties them all together. Next up, we've got the Warhead brushless motor. It's got the 36,000 RPM. Brushless means consistent power delivery every single cycle. It doesn't wear the way brushed motors do. Plus, they're really kind of the new hotness, so why not? 36K RPM into the Titan's active braking and precocking, and this trigger is gonna feel incredible. Here we've got the Rocket Airsoft 18-to-1 gear set and EMG Umbrella Armory bearings. Before the gears even go in, Tommy's pressing in the 8mm EMG Umbrella Armory J cage bearings into the shell. These are quality bearings under quality gears. Right order of operations here. Then you gotta shim them, which is honestly one of the most important things happening in this entire build. How well these gears are set in the shell and shimmed properly determines how smooth and efficient the gearbox runs. It's not flashy, but a bad shim job will ruin everything else you've done. Go ahead, Tommy, you're killing it at that shim job. Some people call him the shim job king. Now, everything else in here is the compression system of the gearbox. We've got the Retro Arms 16 steel tooth piston, the Angel Custom polycarbonate piston head, the Type 0 stainless cylinder, the Lone X cylinder head. These work together as a matched system, but what I want to talk about really quickly is the cylinder. Some of you are already typing in the comment section, and I see you, and you're right, a Type 0 is a full cylinder with no port, and using a 285mm inner barrel, that would be way too short. And technically speaking, a 3/4 ported cylinder is a more ideal match for this barrel length if you want controlled over volume. The Type 0 pushes the ratio closer to like a 4:1 volume, which is a lot. Now here's my honest reasoning. The downsides are real. It's gonna be louder, the BB can experience turbulence and upset at the muzzle, and I probably won't get the tightest groupings, but I'm okay with that because the upside is significant jewel creep, which means that when I step up to 0.32 gram BBs for outdoor play, this gun's gonna hit hard and hold energy further down range and give me better accuracy. And that's the trade that I'm making. If you're building your own SCAR and you're primarily a CQB player, a ported cylinder is probably the smarter call. Now, for my use case, indoor and outdoor kind of dual purpose, this is the decision I landed on. Now that the gearbox is all back together, the hop-up and barrel go in last, and we're gonna install them into this Max Model SV aluminum hop-up chamber. Now, this one is built specifically for the VFC SCAR platform. The stock chamber is plastic, and this one is machined aluminum with a precision rotary dial that has both a standard hop arm and an R-hop arm so that you can run either setup. It's a complete accuracy system upgrade right out of the box. You can grab one of these on Evike.com if you're building your own SCAR alongside me in this video, I didn't. I stole this one from Spencer's desk. The Quantum, or Far Wantum, is a flat hop bucking, which is more consistent. Well, it's a more consistent back spin across the BB. It gives you better range and better grouping. And the Prometheus 603 bore barrel at 285 millimeters. Again, lengthwise, not ideal for the setup we're running, but whatever. And now we're done with the internals. Look at how fast Tommy is when he's sped up on camera like this.
That's it. Good job, Shim King.
And just like that, Tommy's done, gun is back, internals taken care of. Now it's my turn. So what we have here is the PTS kinetic stock. And first thing I'd like to do is obviously adapt this gas blowback version of this hinge into the AEG version of this hinge. So what I did was took this and modeled it up in CAD and 3D printed some kind of a version 1, version 2 of an adapter that kind of retains the 2 pins, if that's even going to be possible, gives me a wire pass through, and also adapts kind of the AEG dimensions to the SCAR. One of the things I hate about the original kind of PTS kinetic version is this rounded piece, and I wanted this to kind of follow the body lines of the SCAR, so that's what I did there. But let's see if that fits. And then we wanted to check to make sure that this works. So looks like we've got good engagement there. It flattens out, everything lines up nicely. And then of course checking to see if that pin goes back in place, and we're looking pretty good there too. Okay, all right, so now adapting it to the SCAR, that'll work. We've got a wire pass through here to get to the battery, but this is meant for a gas blowback. And if we look at the mechanism, there's not really any place to put a battery. Now, I've seen some people try to hog out this back section. Maybe that could be done, but I had an idea. I thought what I'd like to do was put the battery somehow underneath the cheek riser. So I had off camera another one of these that I kind of disassembled and kind of went ham sandwich with the Dremel, trying to get as much material removed as possible to try to fit a battery in there with the wiring kind of tucked up through like this. And that may work. It also may not completely. And also this is only a 900 milliamp battery. I think that's probably going to be the biggest that I can fit. So taking a look at that experiment, I started again with my original tan one because I'd like to keep it tan. We'll remove that. We're not going to be using this unless this idea fails, and then maybe we'll have a go at hogging this out. We'll see.
Brief pause to note that I hate the phrase hog it out.
Hog it out, Dan.
It's rough.
Yeah, we didn't damage that. All right, so that comes off. You can see here, I've already kind of gotten started. Originally, this is a solid piece and it's covered, and I started looking at kind of thinning this area out. And that's what we're gonna be doing now, is just sitting here with a Dremel, trying to remove enough material to get a battery to sit down in here, because right now, it's not. And make some mess. Everyone's watching me hog on it live. Okay, so basically I'm using a mixture of a cutoff wheel, which is melting the plastic, I know, some failed sanding belt drums, which I know have been an issue, some precision files, some definitely not precision files / rasps, and finally a rat file. Suffice to say, this would be a lot easier if you had a mill and you had a milling bit that could just hog out this material for you. But we don't have a mill, and I'd be willing to bet that most of you don't have a mill. So here I am with a mixture of files, X-Acto knife cutters, you know, a Dremel because I've got one, and this is what customization looks like most of the time if you don't have access to a mill or a machinist. Hopefully you guys can learn something from this very slapdash way of trying to customize this stock. So now we have a ton of shavings and a battery that appears at first blush to kind of fit. But the issue and why I cut this one down as far as I did. Oh, by the way, I attempted to do this with a mill. That's why we're doing this with hand files now, because when you do things with a mill, you get a little happy with the tooling. So as I'm kind of going to test fit this, I can already feel that I'm running into interference with my battery. The other thing I did on my test one is, you see these rails in here? These rails right here, see if you can zoom in on that rail right there. I've trimmed off here, and the reason I trimmed that off is because those rails lock into these studs right here. And what I'd like to be able to do is, when you move this into the unlocked position, boop, I want to be able to hinge that open and gain access to my battery compartment. You know what? Like, we could probably make this work with like a 600 milliamp battery. But where's the fun in that?
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess we're just gonna keeping on, and I think what I'd like to do is move away from just the sanding wheel, and I want to try some carbide burrs. That is a 600. And the 600, I mean, we could be done with this right now. So the SCAR has come back up from Tommy, and he did me a favor. The factory VFC based SCAR UGG boot stock goes to a set of pins that goes to another set of contact rings that carry the wiring through the folding hinge into the battery compartment slash UGG boot stock. It's a really, really nice system. It keeps all the wiring out of the way, allowing you to fold the stock very conveniently, and it gives you a ton of battery storage room. But as we discussed earlier, I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I 3D printed that adapter, that pin that holds it in place, and let's talk about that really quick before we attempt to install it. What I've done here is, as you saw me modifying, I have a battery compartment at the top that will fit a 600 milliamp battery, and the wiring will tuck nicely right here and to connect to some Dean's wiring on the SCAR receiver itself. Not ideal, obviously there are trade-offs, right? Because I want to fit a battery up top underneath this cover here, I have to give up battery capacity. And while in the future I've got some ideas for maybe, you know, removing material from the back here and trying to keep the battery underneath and maybe drill a hole and keep the wiring and have that work. For this video, we're gonna try the 600 milliamp and see if we can make that all work. So we're gonna run with this for now until I know that this works well, and then I'll make the changes that I made to this one to my tan one for a cohesive finish. Talking about how we're connecting this, Tommy gave me a really short lead of Deans, and we trimmed down that plate to give me somewhere to run those Deans through the hole I've got in my 3D printed stock adapter. We're gonna attach those, we'll have the Deans running out to it, and we'll connect everything up and make sure that that works. The other thing that I'm finding is that when I 3D printed this adapter, I was a little loose in terms of my tolerances for the factory pin that came on that PTS flippable stock. So I've got some ideas for using some 55 millimeter long M3 threaded standoffs that are going to take the place of that pin, like so it still functions as a hinge. And then I'm going to use some M3 screws to kind of capture the top and bottom, which the pin didn't. That's going to serve two functions. One, it's going to give me kind of a secure way to make sure that this pin doesn't fall out because it's just slightly under diametered. And this is a 3D print, and we have loads coming in from the hinge, and we have loads coming in from it being mounted to the receiver. And the layer lines in one of those directions, depending on your print orientation, will separate or delaminate eventually due to stress. And by clamping just ever so slightly the top and bottom of my hinge, I'm eliminating some of that stressor from being solely kind of the responsibility of those layer lines. This was just a prototype. It's printed out of PETG Basic. I'll probably print it out of a better material in the future. I also had to widen this hole, or Tommy had to widen this hole to get a Dean's connector to fit through it. So I've got some adjustments to make to that 3D print, but we're gonna screw those down, make sure that this all holds in place, and we're ready to rock. Yeah,
There we go.
okay. I'm gonna take this guy, feed that up through there. There you go. That's that guy. And then we're gonna take the wire, lock it in like that. This guy is gonna sit like this. I'm gonna tuck those down, and this. Just like that. Nice work, Tommy. Next up, we're gonna throw on the M-LOK rail. Now, I did a little bit of pre-work, so it didn't take too long, but this is one of those things that, you know, maybe worked great on the gas blowback, but on the AEG version, this doesn't sit exactly level. So I took some washers and cut them for part of it and bent them for the other part of it so that we can get the rail sitting where it needs to, nice and level. So the way this is gonna fit on here, first thing we need to do is remove the factory block that holds the barrel. Walk it out, just walk it out, walking it out the front, just like that. We can ditch that one. The M-LOK comes with a new one to make sure that we've got that, that proper alignment for the screw to go all the way through this guide block and into the outer barrel. And then on the back here, we're gonna have this cut washer that is as wide as the block that fits into this channel. It's gonna support that like so. Okay, now the fun part. We get to do all the final accessorizing and stuff. I have this MOK suppressor and I wanted to go with a super vintage style, but I did want a little bit of a more modern front end when I wasn't using my MOK suppressor. So I went with this really cool, I think this is the BCE or something like that. And then this will thread on here like that. Because I'm not always running a tracer unit or MOK suppressor, I didn't extend my inner barrel, as you're aware, so it ends kind of back in here. Let's talk about furniture. First things first, I'm gonna throw on one of these very, very cool Emissary hand stops. We're gonna throw that on right now. That's nice and high. I don't know if I like that, or if I'd rather have a pressure pad up here. All right, now that the flashlight's on, we can get a better idea of hand stop placement. If I'm using this day to day and I'm leaving the flashlight on there, is that gonna be annoying? Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. I like it. Silhouette's looking pretty good so far. We've got the hand stop, the flashlight. Now, we need that infamous riser that triggers so many people on the internet, which that's the whole reason why I'm putting it on here, so that you guys can get angry with me. Feel free to let me know in the comments about how angry you are and how pointless the heads up shooting position is of mounts like this. All right, mount is on, looking
very tactical.
I have elected to go with a Holosun HS510C in FDE, and this is using the green reticle. I like the solar, I like the shake awake. I often forget to turn off my optic and turn on my optic. And the wonderful thing about the Holosun 510C is it kind of does both of those for you. And it looks like a very familiar silhouette. And since we're kind of going with this mixture, we've got 50 shades of tan. Let's move on to the PEQ box that I'm definitely gonna use because I shoot night vision all the time. Putting this on solely for looks, and you guys are along for the ride with me. WADSN PEQ box. So it's a IR laser, visible, non-visible. When building an airsoft rifle, make sure you bring your entire toolbox of drivers. Now you might be asking if I'm gonna put a pressure switch on there. No. Now thinking about the activation of this, if I ever get into using night vision or somebody's borrowing my rifle that is using nods, they're gonna wanna be able to activate this. And yes, you could, I guess, turn it on with your thumb, occluding your optic while you're doing so. But as I've thought about this with my flashlight and the thumb activation that I thought I was gonna be going with, it occurs to me that one of these dual-use pressure pads might get me all of the things that I want in one convenient package. And just like that, we've built the internals, we accessorized the externals. All that's left to do is shoot it. Now that we're down here in our outside testing facility, we're gonna give it a couple shots on semi-auto and see how it does with all of our upgrades. I think that works. So this is the build. M-Rex rail, WADSN riser, Holosun 510C, the WADSN Onslaught PEQ, the EPGC grip, the mini handbrake, the light, the Titan Bluetooth MOSFET, the Warhead 36K brushless, 18:1 gears, matched compression system, max model CNC hop-up chamber, quantum flat hop bucking, Prometheus 603 285mm inner barrel, fast, consistent, dialed in for CQB with range to hold its own outdoors. Everything in this build is linked in the description, all available here at Evike.com, obviously with the exception of some of my custom bits. If you guys are doing your own SCAR build or pulling pieces of this for a different platform, the links are there for you guys. Tell me in the comments what you're running on your SCAR or what you want to see built next. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss what comes next. I'll see you on the next one.